Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my model discussion video forecast. It is May 16th, 2011, and I'm glad you could be with us this morning. Here's our top weather stories for today, where I'm going to show you some incredible rainfall statistics for the airport, and you can just are going to be mind-boggled by these numbers as to how much rainfall that we have received this year. I mean, we all know about April and the record-setting month of rainfall that we had there, 13.52 inches, and the all-time record for the month was January of 1937, where we picked up 13.68, I believe, something pretty close to that, and we just fell a little bit short of that, but it's just been incredible. So I'll show you some numbers here in a moment. We have a cutoff low that is affecting our weather this week, and I'll show you some more information on how long it's going to take that system to get out of the way. And we are going to have more wet weather in our future, and we'll look at some models and what's going on with this pattern. Why are we getting all this rain? And I'll give you a little sneak peek into the summer as well, and what I expect for the upcoming summer season. Alright, here's the rainfall stats for May. We've received 3.79 inches. The departure from normal is 1.6 inches. That is just, amazing for the month of May, that we're already above average and we're only halfway through the month. Look at the yearly total, 29.23 inches. That is just unbelievable. And look at this, we're 13.5 inches above normal for the year. That is just ridiculous. I mean, we could have a drought for the next 3 or 4 months and not receive a drop of rainfall, and yet we're still going to be above average. That is just amazing. And then precipitation as of this time last year was 13.41 inches for the year. So we are, I mean, this is just crazy. Look at those numbers. It is just staggering. But it is what it is. Alright, here's the water vapor loop, and you can see our cutoff low that is now to the south of the region over the southeastern United States. There it is, and you can see just how slowly that this thing is moving. I mean, you can see all the moisture that's getting pumped up from the Gulf into the Atlantic. Huge moisture fetch right into New England. A lot of flooding going on there as well. We know about all the flood warnings along the Ohio and Mississippi rivers, and they're having to cut loose the levees to save the bigger cities like Baton Rouge and all the other towns, Memphis and all the other towns along the Mississippi River there. Just incredible rainfall, not only for the Ohio Valley, but northern New England's been getting hammered. The Great Lakes, Lake Erie, of course we know the Ohio Valley. I mean, everybody in the eastern half of the United States has just been getting hammered with rainfall. You can see our next system, and this is for next week, is moving into the Pacific Northwest and the Rockies today. That's going to be another slow mover that's going to give us quite a bit of rainfall Sunday on into next week. And you can see the big dip in the jet stream right out of Canada. Look at all the cold air behind this cutoff low. Overnight last night there was frost and freeze advisories over Minnesota and parts of the plains. So there's a pretty good pocket of cold air behind this storm system that folks out there are dealing with. Okay, here's the radar picture. You can see the moisture streaming up, as I just said, from the Gulf and the Atlantic and just hammering New England, and you can see it kind of pinwheeling around that low over the Ohio Valley. The rainfall over us today is not as widespread as it was yesterday, but mainly a cloudy, raw day can be expected with a little bit of drizzle. And you can see rain and mountain snow in the west. This is our next week's system that we're going to be dealing with then. Here's the radar picture a little bit closer to home, and as you can see, most of the rainfall is out of here. There is some light drizzle that's going to be falling from time to time that is really not going to be picked up by radar very much. So at least the rainfall, at least for today, is not as widespread. However, that's going to change in the next couple of days, and a lot of this rainfall that we saw in New England and over here in Canada and over by Detroit and the Great Lakes, that's going to rotate down our way. Well, how is that going to be possible? Well, here's why. Here's the GFS model. This is for tomorrow. Here's our cutoff low moving through the Carolinas, as you can see. down here. But look at this big blocking high that's just off to the east of the cutoff. This is why this system is not going to move this way. Nope. What's going to happen is this high is going to continue to build over southeastern Canada, and that's going to cause the low to actually move back toward the west. Yes, this low is going to retrograde back toward the west and make for a pretty wet Tuesday and Wednesday. Now here is Wednesday. See, that's just what I told you. Look at it now, centered over eastern Ohio and the Appalachians. There's the cutoff, and you can see the high is kind of built over top of it now, and that's why it's called a cutoff low, because with this high that's built over top of it, the jet stream, this system, pretty deep trough here out west, which is next week's system, one would think, okay, it's going to move to the east and kick this thing out of here. Well, that's not going to happen with that high off to the east, the big block in the atmosphere, and it's kind of built over top of it. That's why it's moving back to the west come Tuesday and Wednesday, and that's why it's not going to move out of here. And this is for Thursday. Finally, by Friday, it's moving off to the east, and there's a little ridge of high pressure in between the two systems that's going to move in to provide us with a nice Friday and Saturday. At least we're going to get a couple of nice days this week. Thank goodness, because from Sunday on into next week, our new system out here over the west in the Rockies here is going to be moving our way for next week. So that's why the wet pattern is going to continue here. See, there's Saturday. The ridge is right over us on Saturday, so a really nice looking Saturday there. All right, here's the GFS ensembles for the 6 to 10 day period, and here's another reason why the wet patterns continue. Remember the big trough I just showed you? Well, here it is. It's still there, and you can see the big high over southeast Canada still, kind of keeping everything trapped over the lower 48, and this is why these systems are moving very slow, and the storm track's going to be right up the Ohio Valley again. That's where the moisture feed's going to be. And here's the European for the same 6 to 10 day period. And again, there's the high over southern Canada, and the trough is centered a little bit further to the west on the European. So if the European's right, a lot of the heaviest rain may be just off to our west, but if you blend the two models together, the outcome's going to be the same. I mean, the Midwest and Ohio Valley, we're just going to keep getting hit with rain next week. There's just no way around it, unfortunately, in this pattern, and I don't expect it to change anytime soon, at least through the rest of May. It just looks awfully wet, folks. Now here's the teleconnection indices here, and this is the PNA, this first box here, and what that represents is when it's in a positive phase, that's the red. That usually means a ridge out west and a trough in the east. Well, we have that trough with that cutoff low, and there's ridging over the southwest and over Texas, and that's why they're in such a terrible drought out that way. And I'll have a drought map later. But as you can see, some of the models here are showing the pattern returning, the same pattern that we're in now toward the month of the end of the month. And another model tries to keep it a little more neutral, which it's really not that much of a difference, folks, to be honest with you. In the North Atlantic Oscillation, when it's in a positive phase, that usually means there's a low over Greenland, and a lot of times that would mean a ridge over the east. We should be seeing some pretty nice weather when it's in a positive phase. But due to that block that's over southeast Canada, that's why we're not seeing that, because these storm systems can't get out of the way. They're not fast moving. There's too much block in the atmosphere, and that's why the low is trapped. So this positive NAO really is not having too much of effect on the pattern. As a matter of fact, it actually drops a little bit towards neutral on this one model and a little negative as we end the month on this other model. So if that's the case, we'll have a little ridging towards Greenland that may try to develop, albeit weak, but that's just going to mean status quo. More blocking in the atmosphere, more slow-moving systems, a lot of heavy flooding rains over the Midwest and Ohio Valley and on into New England. That's pretty much what we're dealing with for the rest of May. And as far as the summer is concerned, this is from the Climate Prediction Center for the next 3 months. This is for May, June, July. And you can see below average temperatures for a large chunk of the country over the northern plains, Pacific Northwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, onto the Mid-Atlantic. and you can see where that ridge has been and where the drought's ongoing. That's why we're going to see above normal temperatures for the good chunk of the summer in the southwestern United States and on into Texas, because that ridge is just established. It's not going to go anywhere, and those folks are going to be in for just an awful time of it this summer. If you want hot and dry weather, that's where you need to be, because it's not going to happen for us. Precipitation, again, look at the hardest hit flood areas above normal, New England above normal, the northern plains above normal, and that's why it's going to continue to be wet and cool, I think, for the summer. Now, there will be times when this ridge that's located out here will try to build our way a little bit, and that's when we'll get some 80s and maybe a few 90s from time to time. It's going to be a very humid summer, but as far as sustained 90s for weeks on end, I just don't see it happening at all. I think we're going to have a lot of thunderstorm chances in the afternoon and evenings, and maybe some severe weather if the pattern sets up right. With this ridge down here over the southern plains, these systems are just going to come in and they're going to ride over top of the ridge and dive down southeast like this, so we're going to get a lot of those mesoscale convective complexes, which can bring damaging winds, large hail, and heavy flooding rains. And I just think it's going to be that kind of a summer where we're going to have a lot of stormy action. And here's the drought, speaking of that, and as you can see, there's where your heat's going to be this summer, and there's where that ridge has set up shop, and that's why they're in a drought there. In New Mexico and Texas, just awful conditions there. They desperately need the rain, but with that ridge parked there, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. The good news is that we have seen a little bit of improvement over the southeast down here, so they're looking a little bit better. But we have seen a lot of ridging over Florida as well this year, and that's why they're in a drought as well. So we have some ridging down here from time to time, and the main ridge, though, is going to be setting up shop over Texas and the southern plains, so they're going to bake. Alright, I thank everybody for watching my model discussion video forecast today, and I hope everybody can try to stay dry and enjoy Friday and Saturday. That looks really nice for us. But again, the storminess is going to kick back in Sunday through a good chunk of next week. Thanks very much for watching, and have a great day.